Right now at 5, a life cut short on a Midtown street, a crime that shocked the nation. Now a killer admits how he plotted out the murder before pulling the trigger.
Luigi Mangione stalked and murdered Brian Thompson in cold blood.
It was a single tragic event, yet he's being prosecuted twice for the same conduct.
And now Luigi Mangione's attorneys set their sights on his state trial, saying it should be tossed. Good evening. I'm Christine Johnson.
And I'm Dick Brennan in for Jessica Moore. He's fessing up and ready to face the punishment. Luigi Mangione admitted in federal court that he shot and killed Brian Thompson.
And you remember this video. It shows Mangione pulling out his gun and take aim at the healthcare executive. It set off a days-long manhunt in December of 2024. Mangione was hit with the federal indictment months later in April of 2025, and he has pleaded guilty today. We learn new details in his own words about the lead up to the violence.
The federal judge accepted his guilty plea and set a sentencing date of December 18th at 11 a.m. Alice Gaynor was in court today and has been there all along. And Mangione spoke in front of the victim's family members. Alice, what was his demeanor at that time?
So he was very matter of fact when he spoke, and the family of Brian Thompson, they were very emotional, and it was so quiet in that courtroom right before we began. I mean, you could have heard a pin drop. So this was also interesting. Luigi Mangione chose to remain seated while admitting to the judge what he said he had done. He could have stood if he wanted to. And again, he said rather matter-of-factly, devoid of any emotion, quote, "I shot Mr. Thompson in Manhattan and he died. When I did so, I understood that my actions would place him in fear of death or serious bodily injury. I knew what I was doing was illegal." And as he said this, a couple of Brian Thompson's family members lowered their heads. A few cried. Luigi Mangione told the federal judge he traveled to New York in December 2024 with the intent to shoot Brian Thompson, explaining that after years of severe back pain and navigating the health insurance system, he learned UnitedHealthcare was holding its annual investor conference in New York City. In order to find out its location, Mangione says he emailed UnitedHealthcare leadership posing as an investor at a multi-billion-dollar firm. He said he used a 3D printer to make parts of the gun. Prosecutors then listed their evidence, including video of Mangione's movements and the fatal shooting, DNA, and fingerprints from the crime scene. Mangione pleaded guilty to 1 count of interstate stalking resulting in death and 1 count of stalking through use of interstate facilities resulting in death. Both carry a maximum of life in prison. In a letter, the judge said the government wrote that it believed the federal guidelines for sentencing would be 24 to 30 years in prison. But after court, the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York said they would be seeking the max.
Our office does not have a plea agreement with him. Instead, he pled open, which means he pled guilty to all pending counts in the indictment. There are no accommodations or concessions, and we are free to seek the maximum penalty under the law.
The judge will ultimately decide the punishment. The family of Brian Thompson said today was an important step toward justice, releasing a statement that reads in part, "Now we look to the court to ensure that sentencing reflects the severity of this crime." Following the hearing, the defense filed a motion to try and get his state case tossed on grounds of double jeopardy.
It was a single tragic event, yet he's being prosecuted twice for the same conduct.
Mangione is facing different charges in the state case, including second-degree murder. The Manhattan DA's office says it's committed to seeking justice, writing in part, "We are prepared to litigate the defense motions." Mangione has attracted supporters who regularly attend his hearings. Many have said they were frustrated with the healthcare system. One man yelled as Thompson's family and friends left.
To those who idolize Luigi Mangione, I say this: violence is not a cause, murder is not a message, and a killer is certainly not a hero.
There can be no celebrity in assassination.
And according to UnitedHealthcare, Mangione was never a customer. Some execs from the company also attended today and released a statement that reads in part, quote, "Brian Thompson's life was cut short by an act of violence that devastated everyone who knew and loved him." Dick, Christine?
Yeah, and some of them had to endure those awful taunts. You just can't even believe people would do that, right? Anyway, in the meantime, though, what happens sentencing in December? What happens between now and then?
So the judge instructed Mangione, she said that probation would interview him and write a pre-sentence report. She told him, if you speak to them, it's important that what you say is accurate because I'm going to read that when determining what sentence to impose. So again, December 18th, that's when we'll find out what the judge decides.
All right, Alice.
Thank you, Alice.
Great details.
Yes.
Thank you, Alice. So let's take another look at the different counts in state and federal court that Alice mentions. On the federal level, Mangione faced federal stalking charges, both resulting in death. And then in state court, the top charge is second-degree murder, followed by weapons and forgery charges.
All right, joining us now is attorney and legal expert Richard Schoenstein. And you can't try someone twice for the same crime, same charges. Richard, you know that. But does double jeopardy apply now?
That is going to be a hotly contested issue. We already have a brief in from Mangione's attorneys that's excellent, has a lot of case authority in it, is well argued. The question is whether those federal charges, which are interstate stalking resulting in death, are substantially similar to the state charge, which is intentional murder. And of course, the defense argues they are because they both involve killing Brian Thompson. That's the centerpiece of both charges. The government is going to argue that they're different because the federal charges are focused on stalking and the interstate travel portion, and the state charges don't require any of that.
So we know that he could face life in prison for this. He has no prior criminal record, but what other factors could play into the amount of time that he spends in prison?
So under the federal guidelines, the maximum sentence for these crimes is life in prison, but he gets initially a point reduction because he pled guilty, and an additional point reduction because he's doing it substantially in advance of the trial. And so the 3-point reduction takes him down from a 43 on the scale to a 40 on the scale. And instead of life, you're looking at a sentence that would be between 24 and 30 years. And in the federal system, he can shave 15% off of that if he conducts himself well in prison.
So just from a legal aspect, though, we understand that there's the federal case and then there's the state case. They're obviously separate. And when you look at the paper, you see the different charges. But the DA's office can't be happy about this.
Oh, I think it's a gut punch for
Yes.
the DA's office. I mean, I think there's an argument that the federal government just completely cut the legs out from under the New York DA's office by reaching this agreement, you know, less than a month from the state trial. The only thing I'd say about it is I'm not sure they totally had choice. I mean, Mangione pled guilty to the federal counts. He was empowered to do that. There is no written agreement. There is no deal per se with the government. He was entitled to do that.
But 24 years or less, that's a substantially lower time that he could get.
That's an incredible result. When you consider this is about the most premeditated killing you can get. He manufactured the weapon. He stalked the guy. He found out where he would be. He crossed state lines, and he shot and killed him by his own admission. And he might be out while he's still in his 40s. Wow.
Tactical move by his lawyers, for sure.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
Richard Schoenstein, thank you so much.
And do stay with us for continuing coverage of today's guilty plea. We have details on Mangione's admission and a full explainer on double jeopardy on our website, cbsnewyork.com.